want to welcome everybody today to the webinar, Tree Farmer of the Year Awards webinar. It's Bob Obzinski. I'm chairman of the Tree Farm program. Today's meeting is about the Tree Farmer of the Year award ceremony for both Tree Farmer of the Year and Inspector of the Year. It's centered around those two, which I consider the most important awards in the Tree Farm program. On the screen, you will see all the key sponsors that we have for the Tree Farm program, which is really important because without them, we couldn't do what we do. The Inspector of the Year and the Washington Tree Farmer of the Year are really important awards. This awards ceremony that we have is also a historic one. And I think one that will truly be remembered because of the changing environment that we're in. And just like planning for your tree farm, we had a plan developed to make these awards that was organized around judging tree farm nominees, selecting one, and then planning for a rousing award ceremony. But as in planning for your tree farms, the environment changed significantly with the onset and the concerns over the coronavirus. As committee members working for the Tree Farm program, we considered a lot of different pathways, a lot of different ways to go. We talked about just canceling the award for this year. We talked about awarding it next year. But we decided that since the judging work was complete or mostly complete at the time, we wanted to acknowledge the winner this year. The result is what you're seeing today. We decided to go with a virtual awards presentation, which basically allows us to keep moving forward with the Tree Farmer Inspector of the Year award, because these are very important awards that we give out, as I said earlier. It also gives us an opportunity to try the virtual platform, such as this one, in the event the virus situation continues on. And we all know that at this point, at the present point in time, there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of things are being rescheduled even into next year. So with that in mind, for those of you that are watching, what we'd really like is you to give us a critique on the program today and make it so we can make it better for the future. So I want you to look at it from the perspective of what are things we could do better, because believe me, trying to put one of these together and trying to do it in a way that is similar to being at a meeting in real is extremely difficult. So basically so I'm going to start into the program now, Tree Farm of the Year and the Inspector of the Year awards. When I think of these awards, I think about what they mean to the program. And the first thing that comes to mind is that the Tree Farmer and inspectors are the backbone of this program, and they represent a lot of hard work and efforts that go into sustainable forestry, and that assures that our forests go on into the future. The Tree Farmer is really, as I see it, the heart and soul of the program. I think you will see, when you see the videos today, and those of you who have watched videos in the past, I think you'll see that you'll see it in the eyes and the voices of each of our nominees and people who have won the Tree Farm program or Tree Farmer of the Year in the past. You'll see it as they talk about their tree farms. I'm continually amazed at the love that these people have for their tree farms, for their families, and moving them into the future and keeping them as tree farms. I see the same thing. I've been doing inspections now for 7 years. I see it in each tree farmer that I inspect, whether they're 10 acres or they're 1,000 acres. There's a lot of care and there's a lot of stuff that goes into these tree farms. The tree farmers, they define the objectives. They provide the blood, sweat, and tears to not only maintain the forest sustainably for today, but into the future. In working their lands, they not only manage their lands for sustainability, but they provide for the values of water, wildlife, recreation, and timber. In doing this, they figure ways to get things done economically, and in doing so, and this is an amazing thing, they become leaders in innovation and new techniques. The example being I think it was Joe Murray had come up with a mechanism. He's one of our inspectors to plant spruce, and when you're trying to protect cedars, plant spruce with it. And that's a fairly new technique, and it's really an amazing one that's actually helped to relieve damage from elk, and deer. So tree farmers, because of what they do, they're innovators of new techniques, ideas around sustainably managing their lands into the future. And this comes with the knowledge they gain from education and working on the land. They provide a link to the future family through their plans and knowledge, and their excitement about getting the whole family, both young and old, involved in the program. One of the things that I've noticed in both being on the judging panels and being an inspector is that families are very much involved with these things. And as far as, I think you'll hear today that in some cases, these are meant to go out 150 years. Some of these things, some of these plans are meant to go out for 150 years. So these tree farms, these people really want to move that in there. So that's really exciting. They set an example and are willing to promote sustainable forestry through discussion with members of our communities. Each of these tree farmers talks with people. They talk with other landowners. They talk with private folks, just people that own homes, other tree farmers and policymakers, as well as young children that will manage these lands in the future. And just as importantly, and why I got involved with this program, was that they provide an excitement and an energy about sustainable forestry. And I can tell you that it's addictive. My example has always been, and I know a lot of you know him, has been Doug Stinson. He was the first person that I actually was ever talked with in Tree Farm. And he was doing the inspector workshop. And it was amazing because at the time I had been in forestry for 35 years at the federal level. And, I knew about forestry, loved trees. But when I listened to him talk as we went through the inspector workshop, I was just so impressed with his love of the land, how he did what he did, the hard work he put into that, and how he was willing to share that information with us and wanted us to be involved. So I think that's really important. As I said before, when I was watching him, when I was listening to him, you could see it in his eyes, you could hear it in his voice. There was energy, there was excitement. In the following years, I did inspections for many tree farms and even assisted in judging the Tree Farm of the Year with the same energy, and I saw the same energy was in each and every tree farmer that I met. You do not see this kind of energy and excitement in most things these days. And I sincerely mean that. The other part of the program is the inspector. And these are people that are consummate professional foresters who donate their time, their skills to provide an understanding of the standards of the tree farm program and how they relate to the goals of the tree farmer. In doing this, they often discuss with tree farmers ideas and opportunities that assist the tree farmer. They come from all areas of forestry, from being tree farmers to consultants, university people, federal and state, county, and industry foresters. Even after they retire, a lot of them continue to inspect or be involved with the program, just in their support of sustainable forestry. And I think you've all seen that. If you look at folks like Andy Perleyberg and you look at people like Joe Murray, these people are just love what they do, and they want to share that information with tree farmers. So what you're seeing there is a synergy developing, a synergy that's developed in this program between tree farmers and inspectors and foresters. And that synergy leads to a lot of the cool things that we have. You all know these people. They work tirelessly to provide inspections and assist with workshops and seminars. You've probably all been to at least some of them. As they work in the tree farms on inspections, they often have spirited conversations. I know I do with tree farmers about different things that they could try to meet their objectives. Not with the goal of trying to change people's minds, but just giving information out. And I think that's really important. They bring knowledge of silviculture, timber, forest products. and ways to get the best value for a product a tree farmer wants to sell or wants to grow. The inspector also learns about the tree farm from the tree farmer who knows the most about his land. So not only do they provide information, but the tree farmer also gives them an education in what they know about the land. Now think about that. Where else do you see that? Where you have two kind of groups coming together, two different entities coming from different perspectives. They come together, and in a lot of cases that leads to innovation. And I think that's really important. So the link between the tree farmer and the inspector is a love of the land and the many goals that can be achieved through sustainable forestry. It's for these reasons that both of these awards mean so much. I think you'll see that. And then each of these nominees for both awards have shown all the characteristics of what it means to support sustainable forestry. So both Inspector of the Year, Tree Farm nominees are amazing people. So they're all winners. You're all winners. And it's really great to be a part of that. It's why I am a part of that. So with that, I'd like to start off this program with announcing the Inspector of the Year. And I'm going to stop the share. And this year's award winner really defines, I think, what a tree farmer or a tree farm inspector is all about. He's been doing inspections since 2011, and I do mean he's been doing an inspection. I don't know if you all know what's involved in doing inspection, but it's a day's work. It's filling out the forms. It's doing a lot of those kinds of things. In 1 year, this person did 52 inspections. That was in 2015. That is a lot of time and effort. This is an amazing feat to me, given that he had to manage this while being a full-time purchaser for purchaser of logs for the Port Angeles Hardwood Company. During these inspections, he's always willing to share his experiences in managing the small forest. But that's not all he does. He's considered a regular at the annual Whatcom Timber Woods Tour. During this tour, he actively engages local officials, community leaders, and publics in what it means to manage a working sustainable forest. Also, as a hardwood sawmill purchaser, he is active in promoting redwood alder management. He's a broad member of the Western Hardwood Commission. On this commission, he is active in annual meetings, workshops, and field trips. So again, remember what I talked about as being a really good inspector. They're involved. They want to provide knowledge. They want to learn about sustainable forestry. So their work really intertwines all of this. So he's one really amazing inspector who is highly respected or a highly respected forester in the Pacific Northwest. So it's with great pleasure that the Washington Tree Farm Program awards the 2020 Inspector of the Year Award to Randy Bartelt. This award comes with a plaque, and Randy, unfortunately, I can't hand it to you, which I wish I could. And it also comes with a jacket, which as I understand, is just being finished up. So we will be sending those to you. So Randy, with that, would you like to say anything?
Well, yeah, I want to thank everybody. This really is a huge honor to me, and it is very, very humbling. There's a lot of amazing inspectors out there, and honestly, they're probably a lot way better than myself. And this is very humbling, and I appreciate it very, very much. The one thing all the inspectors, I think we all share, is a love of the land, the love of forestry, the love of what, just being out there in the woods and talking to the landowners, and it's a great honor. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Randy, for all you've done for the Tree Farm Program. You're genuinely a wonderful humanoid life form. So with that, I'd like to go into our second award, which is for the Washington Tree Farmer of the Year. And for that, I want to do a couple of things before I do that, because the first thing I want to do is we had 3 nominees, Mike Blaze, Patty Vance, and Bob Brink. And all 3 of them had amazing tree farms. I also want to thank Jenny Kanoth for coordinating the Tree Farm of the Year judging, and Jenny, Nora Young, Richard Pine, and Joe Murray for their willingness to act as judges. The judging for this was very close, and there was a lot of discussion between the judges. This really is a tribute to each of the nominees who have amazing tree farms, which is a tribute to all of them and what they do. And so I think, and I mean that in all sincerity, it's really amazing just to meet you folks and talk with you and work with you on these things. It's really cool. One thing that so a couple things that I'm going to do is Dave New, who is the National Tree Farm Awards, National Tree Farm of the Year award winner in 2019, is going to introduce each of these nominees. One thing I'd like to do before I do that, though, is I'd like to share a quick look at the past Tree Farmers of the Year. And the reason why I do that is because I'm currently working on bringing together the history of the Tree Farm program. We're working on that. And one of the things I noticed when I was doing that is the first thing is that we've had Tree Farmers of the Year since 1976. And those people are the people that have helped develop and do and make the Tree Farm program what it is today. So I would like to just go through their names really quickly. It'll only take a couple minutes. And I just want to list their names. And a lot of these you're going to see, and most of them I have pictures for them. Some of them I don't. So one of my questions as we go through this is, if you know of pictures of the people that I don't have, and you know somebody and you have one, if you could send them to Elizabeth Ide, that would be great. So I'm going to jump into Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can, Bob.
Great. So 1976, Jack Raymond Schumacher. 1977 was Ivan Townsend. 1978 was Chuck Chambers. 1979 was Albert Deschy. 1980 was Lee Riley. 1981, Austin Henry. 1982 was Michael Aiken. 1983 was Skip Meacham. 1984 was Chuck Stillman. 1985 was Nels Hansen. 1986 was Arlene Nelson, George and Arlene Nelson. 1989 was George Woods. 1990 was John and Evelyn Rankin. 1991 was Mark and Gina Andrews. 1992 was Dwayne and Anna Marie Weston. 1993 was Doug Stinson and Faye Marie Beck. 1995 was Everett and Marie Uskoski. 1996 was Dick and Judy Batten. 1997 was Bob and Jane Nakai. 1998 was Reg and Esther Lester. 1999 was James and Jane Norogowski. 2000 was Walt and Dardine Wheaton. 2001 was Crystal Lake Tree Farm. 2002 was Bob and Lynette Faulkner. 2003 was Jake Stevens, or Jake Strauss. 2004 was Tom and Sherry Fox. 2005 was John and Pat Malone. 2006 was Rafer 7 Ranch Tree Farm, Patty Playfair and Thelma Fry. 2007 was the Burns Family Tree Farm. 2008 was the Robbins family. 2009 was Stan Mueller. 2010 was Earl Loreen and David Engelbright. 2011 was Byron and Donna Laux. 2012 was Ellen and Ruby Walker. 2013 was Ken and Bonnie Miller. 2014 was Sam and Joy Comstock. 2015 was Greg and Sue Patillo. 2016 was Randy and Linda Loffer. 2017 was the Five Springs Tree Farm Kingsbury family. 2018 was David Darnute. In 2019 was the O'Neill Pine Tree Farm, Deborah and Richard Pine. So the reason why I did that again is that you can see it in the smiles, in the pictures that are here, in the history that is there. And being a big history buff, this is the part that makes this really special. That's since 1976, so that's almost 45 years. So when this basically was starting, I was just starting in forestry almost. So it's really an amazing thing. And I just want people to remember those people because they are what brought us to where we are today. And I don't know, I haven't talked with each of the nominees about it, but I know at least two of them have talked about the people that have helped them that are members of these Tree Farm of the Year group. And they represent the Tree Farm program, which is so, so important. Because when I say that, the quality of our tree farms from top to bottom is really high. I'm sure you know many of these people, so I thought it was fitting to honor them again. So with that, we want to move on to 2020. And so what I want to do with that is I want to hand this over to Dave New, our 2018 Tree Farmer of the Year and 2019 National Tree Farmer of the Year, to introduce this year's nominees.
Well, thank you, Bob. And thanks again to all of you who are here, who are turned in this morning to the 2020 Tree Farm Program Awards presentation. We have three outstanding tree farmers to recognize today. They represent the Five Point Lodge Tree Farm in Snohomish County, the Elmore Vance Tree Farm in Lewis County, and the Pomeroy Family Tree Farm in Clark County. All three are the best of the best. I think you will see the passion they bring to tree farming. I cannot say enough about how proud I am to be associated with these three. We will start at the north and work our way south. As Mike Blaze will tell you in the video you are about to see, his father got 6 families together in 1947 to purchase a half section of land abutting Woods Lake, which is in the Sultan's Skykomish Basin. For the past 70 plus years, these 6 extended families have owned individual parcels within this half section. Some live there full-time, others are part-timers. All use the tree farm and the lake for recreation. They collectively own the 290-acre tree farm, which Mike manages. They sustainably harvest and replant timber to provide the capital necessary to maintain the greater property. Mike has been active in both the Upper Puget Sound and Whatcom chapters of the Washington Farm Forestry Association. He is a past president of the UPS chapter. He regularly attends most of the small landowner events in Western Washington, as can be attested to the fact that his face usually shows up in the photographs later used in the forestry event publicity. The Five Point Lodge Tree Farm is diligently maintained, and its owners have a plan to take it forward far into the future.
I'd like to welcome you to the Five Point Lodge Incorporated. Now it's hunting, fishing, and a tree farm. In 1946, a fellow tried to buy 480 acres and couldn't pay for it. So in 1947, my dad, acting as trustee, paid off the contract and kept 320 of the 480 and gave the other fellow back his 120 acres. Dad was acting for a group, and they became known as Five Point Lodge after one of the original owners shot a 5-point buck. Present, there's 6 owners, families, all between 2nd and 5th generation, with the 4th and 5th generation living on the property on their acreage. They had 320 acres, and now the 6 owners have 5 to 6 acres of their own, and then the tree farm is 290 acres. And we have basically hemlock and fir and cedar, some alder and big leaf maple. Well, since I became involved with the Washington Farm Forestry and the American Tree Farm System, we've had 2 harvests, one in 2006 of 23 acres, and then in 2018 of 28 acres. Because there's a good cedar growing area up in this last harvest in 2018, we replanted with 60% western red cedar and the rest Douglas fir. And it's got a good history of cedar growing in that area. There's a lot of the old growth stumps, and so we thought cedar would be good, and cedar always retains its price. Some of the challenges we've got are primarily right now, the most important one is the tansy ragwort in the harvest area that we did. It's coming up despite the fact we did a site prep spray prior to the planting, and it's still coming up. So I've got to work on that, getting rid of that. And then we've got a long-standing old culvert that needs to be replaced on our main road, which is the only road in from the county road to the property down here. That was part of the reason we did a little extra harvest area versus 20 acres, and we did 28. Unfortunately, we don't have any salmon in the stream, so we don't qualify for programs through the state. So we'll pay for it ourselves out of the logging money. And the logging pays for it. I mean, the lathe pays for the expenses on the property. We have kind of a lot of wildlife on the farm. One of the things that I hadn't seen before until 2018, when they started doing the harvest, Bob Layton and I went up there and we were talking to the guy that had just started cutting, and we saw flying squirrels coming from one side of the road to the trees that he was going to cut. And I'd never seen flying squirrels here, but we have them. This year we're seeing more bears than normal. They've been spotted or signs of them. We've had an occasional cougar. We have deer, a lot of deer, bobcat, coyotes. In the lake we've got bass and trout. And you go down there and you'll see otters and osprey and herons and eagles. And we've got streams that one comes in from the west side and meets up with another one from the west side, and they join and go down to the lake. There's a stream that comes down through the center part of the property, and it goes down to the lake. And then the two coming from the northeast corner meet on the property and then flow into the lake. We've probably got about 3 or 4 miles of roads. They're old skid roads. They go up to the northeast corner, the center section of the property, and the northwest corner. And when we did the logging this time, we connected the center road and the northwest road. And so there's plenty of place to hike and walk and just enjoy the property. The tree farm legacy, as I see it, was kind of set up by our fathers, the first owners, the guys that came in here and set up the lodge. They worked hard. They built the lodge cabin using an old donkey engine that one of the fellows made, and they played hard. I tell people, my son and younger family members, when you come up here, you'll relax and just have a good time. The tree farm in itself, because I've been up here as a kid and hiked and spent a lot of time, I love the whole place. I love all 290 acres of it. When I first got involved with Washington Farm Forestry, they had their convention up in Mount Vernon, and a fella from Fort Blakely Tree Farm made a statement that stuck with me. He said, "You have to know your property better than anybody else." and I've taken that to heart.
Patty Vance spearheads the family effort to manage the property purchased by her father in 1965. She works tirelessly to overcome some serious challenges, such as major elk damage to young seedlings. She eagerly seeks to improve her knowledge of forest management and is always willing to share what she has learned from her experiences. Patty and her husband Rory have been full-time residents on the property since 1980, which is located 6 miles southeast of Randall near the headwaters of Stump Creek, a tributary to the Cispus River. Their overall goal is to keep the land contiguous, grow a healthy, sustainable rotation of crop trees that will provide enough cash to pay the taxes, maintain the land, and keep the property in the Elmore family for generations to come. They aim to provide a private, natural setting that encourages family connections through recreation, hiking, camping, hunting, and the enjoyment of watching trees grow and wildlife play. They have a small log cabin and camping area reserved for family outings and yearly family reunions. They gather and use sword ferns, salal, Oregon grape, moss, evergreen boughs for floral and holiday decorations. They pick blackberries, salmonberries, thimbleberries, raspberries, and elderberries. Mushrooms are a favorite and provide a great treasure hunt activity. Some wood is harvested for furniture building, such as some from stick form and some larger logs for slabbing to use as tabletops and art projects. Making furniture is Rory's second favorite hobby next to playing music, writing songs about their property. He has also cut many cords of firewood each year, though firewood cutting is not his favorite hobby. Patty has been the lead volunteer for membership recruitment to the Lewis County Farm Forestry Association for nearly 10 years. She is always willing to participate in activities that educate the community on the value of tree farming and why they should join forestry organizations like Farm Forestry and the Tree Farm Program.
Born in the Cascade Mountains, roads are dirt and trees are green. You can drive for hours, trees and streams are all you'll see.
Our tree farm is the Elmore Vance Tree Farm, and we're located in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. We're about 6 miles south of Randall. We ended up with this property when my dad purchased it in 1965. Then he started thinking about his family being owners in it, and he incorporated it into a family property where my brothers and I and mom and dad were co-owners. In 1980, my husband and I moved here. Kind of an interesting fact, we didn't have power. So we made our own power, and we did that for 17 years. My dad came and lived with us in the last years of his life, and he died in 1993. And when he passed on, the property moved on to my brother Bob and myself. This was a quarter section of land, and at the present time we have 148 acres that we own, and out of that 148 acres we have 122 acres that are actually in manageable forest land. Our trees are mainly native trees, Doug fir, cedar. We have, of course, the hardwoods, alder and maple. A big section of our property is wetlands. It's about a half-mile long between the Fishbearing Creek and the wetlands. We have about 4,000 cedars through our wetlands, and I just recently planted a new clear cut that we put in another 1,500 cedar. Well, this is a wildlife haven here. Our property is fully surrounded by old growth timber from the National Forest. As you'll see and you look around, we do have a big open pasture area, and the elk and the deer, they're here with their babies. You know, we have the cougar, we have the bear, all the birds, pileated woodpeckers. We've got 3 new bat boxes installed. Deer, elk, and bear have been our challenges. Our redwood cedars have been planted with coastal spruce. And that works. The deer and elk don't like that prickly spruce, but it's still rather challenging. They don't like Vexar tubes either. It's confining, and so these poor little cedar trees are stuck inside that prickly spruce, and no matter what you do, we kind of have to keep our trees in prison for 5 years no matter what. But I think that bear is a bigger challenge. Not on a regular basis, but boy, we lost half a stand. I had a 15-acre stand and we got bear into it. I wanted so badly to do a commercial thin on that stand, but with all the bear damage, we're just gonna clear cut it at 40 years old.
Home is where you make it, mine is colored Cascade green. Home is where you find it. These mountains are home to me, logging trucks and blacktail bucks. Cascade Mountains have a hold on me. They say home is where you find it. These mountains are home to me, logging trucks and blacktail bucks. Cascade Mountains have a hold on me.
I love the family being here, and I love the fact that we have a successional plan, and I think everybody's on board with that, and my 4th generation great niece is living in the cabin now.
It's just such a super special place for me, and I wrote a little poem. In the reflection of the mirror, I see myself most prominently. Behind me emerges all that came before. Logs lifted by my aunt's hardened hands, shelves sculpted by my mother's touch, creaking floors once danced upon by my grandparents' shoeless feet. A flower jar turned compost bin, changing throughout the generations. If I look above me, past the mirror, and all that is reflected, I see a kitten's paw twitch with a dream. Against the curtains I sewed, hanging below the roof my great-grandfather built 50 years before me. On the mantle rests a photograph of my grandparents on their wedding day, leaning upon these very logs, and I think of the song, 100-Year-Old Photograph. The lyrics play in my mind, lyrics that sang me to sleep as they touched my mother's lips each night before bed, no matter what home we were in, and there were many. And I wonder, might my own children, if I choose to have them, look upon this same photograph when it truly is 100 years old, under a roof their great-great-grandfather built, in a home dancing with all their ancestors, and think of the song I sang to them each night before bed.
One of the things I recognize is that my grandfather, who purchased the land 55 years ago, was a dreamer. And my aunt, who manages the land, Patty, she's a hard worker. And the gift to our family is that the rest of us get to enjoy the land. We do family campouts here. Every year it's the place the family comes together. We've actually had 3 family weddings here as well. Many people of the family live in the city. So to come out in nature and take walks and hike up to the top and see the panoramic view of endless trees, it's really, really a gift.
I guess when it comes to managing the land, I just see how good it feels to harvest the trees when they need to be harvested for the health of the land, and then you get to come back in and you put those baby trees up, and before you know it, you got this whole sea of green, and it's the cycle of life.
For over 100 years, 6 generations of the Pomeroy family have lived next to the East Fork of the Lewis River in the Lucia Valley between Battleground and Yakult. For the past 3 decades, Bob Brink has been on the cutting edge of tree farm management and government policy in the state of Washington. He was on the initial small forest landowner advisory committee within the DNR that wrote the forest riparian easement guidelines. He wrote the first alternate plan under the 1990 Forest and Fish Rules, was president of the Washington Farm Forestry Association from 2008 to 2010, was program chair of the State Farm Forestry Meeting in 2011, and is the conference chair for what is hoped will be the 2021 State Farm Forestry Meeting. Bob is a 1998 graduate of the Ag Forestry Leadership Program, and his son Dan is a 2014 graduate as well. The Clark chapter of Farm Forestry has an annual tree sale that puts more than 15,000 seedlings out into the community, and the chapter provides another 70,000 seedlings to its members each year. Bob's leadership is instrumental in both of these events. Bob and the entire family have actively pursued opportunities to showcase their tree farm management and assist local agencies in educational opportunities. They have provided school field trips to the farm for over 30 years and hosted an antique steam logging show for over a decade and participated in many local and state farm forestry events. The family has been members of Washington Farm Forestry since 1977. Bob is the current Clark chapter president. His son Dan is the vice president, and his daughter Betsy does the chapter newsletter. Bob is also the chair of the WFFA Investment Committee.
We call it the Pomeroy Family Tree Farm because that's named after my wife's great-grandfather. We're located in southwest Washington, northern part of Clark County, about 8 miles from the little town of Battleground. My wife's great-grandfather's name was E.C. Pomeroy, and he came here from southern Oregon in 1910. But about 2 weeks after he purchased that property, a forest fire roared through here and burned the whole valley. Could have gone back down to southern Oregon, but they stayed, and they spent their first winter here in a tent, built the house, a house. It's not the house that we're looking at today. That was actually built in 1920 because there was another fire on the farm, and the house burned, and so then they built the one that exists today in 1920. A lot of this land was owned by Weyerhaeuser, and in the 1929 it burned, and so they just began to salvage log it, and the family bought land from Weyerhaeuser over the next 20 years, and eventually created a farm of 677 acres. We now have the 6th generation here on the farm.
We love spending time outside on the tree farm. My kids love to ride four-wheelers and motorcycles, and we hike a lot. We run a lot. There's some great hills for running, just going on nature walks, being outside in the sun, hunting, looking for animals. Well, we call this spot right here the 4th of July spot because we often come up here on the 4th of July and you can see all the fireworks in Oregon and the ones in Vancouver and just all over. It just has the best view on this side, and then if you go across the road and you can see the whole valley and the mountains surrounding it.
A pretty good diversity, although it's primarily Douglas fir ground. Most of this is medium to high site too. We also have some alder draws in some of the wetter areas. There's a little bit of ash, there's a tiny bit of cedar, a hemlock tree here or two, big leaf maple. Those are the main species here on the farm.
With managing the tree farm, the couple of major things that we try to keep under control just for the health and growth of the trees are blackberries and vine maple. When the tree stands are younger, we get a fair amount of meadow knapweed that comes in. We do have some small isolated pockets of Scotch broom, but we've managed to keep those contained to some really small areas and hasn't really spread. We have a number of seasonal streams that run through the property. We do have one fish-bearing stream. There's a fairly diverse number of wildlife here on the farm. We have lots of deer, coyotes, seen a few bears over the years. a few cougars, mountain lions, a number of smaller species as well. Squirrels, rabbits, birds.
So we use this area here with the load log house and the barn and the blacksmith shop because it's very historic. It's on the National Register, and we use it for field trips for school children and bring about 3,000 kids a year through the farm. It's kind of a fun diversity to the tree farming. 2 years ago, we put the farm in a trust because it is owned by a family. There's about 20 family members now. And so we've put it in a trust, and that's supposed to last for 150 years. So we don't have to really argue about who's going to do what, and we're just going to grow trees.
So there we have the three nominees. We have Mike Blaze from the 5 Point Lodge Tree Farm. We have Patty Vance from the Elmore Vance Tree Farm, and Bob Brink from the Pomeroy Family Tree Farm. So it's back to you, Bob.
And each of those tree farmers will receive a plaque as a nominee for their nomination. So the big moment is that we've all been waiting for, and I'm just, so the 2020 Washington Tree Farm of the Year, it's my honor to award to the Elmore Vance Tree Farm in Randall, Washington. So would you like to say a few words, Patty and Rory? I see Rory in there.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Okay, I think that it all started with Doug Stinson. Many years ago, Doug was the first man that came out here and certified us to the American Tree Farm System. And I'm so incredibly thankful for that family and everything they've done and everything they've taught me and how they welcomed me. And the Lewis County, my other family down here in Southwest Washington, the Lewis County FFA, they've been fantastic. And the whole state of Washington, our Washington Farm Forestry and our Washington Tree Farm, what a great bunch of people to work with. Whew, I can't believe it. Thank you, thank you. Let's go grow some more trees. I like to cut them down too. I'm a boots on the ground, hands in the dirt kind of a girl.
And with that award comes a large sign, which is being finished, and then also a certificate for a still chainsaw. And so I really congratulate you. I also congratulate all the nominees because you are all really amazing. Watching those videos again, I just look at how much you all care about your land, and it's a real honor to be around you people. I think you are a great bunch, and you represent the Tree Farm program so well. So I'm sorry that for those that are nominees, you're still have amazing tree farms, and it was very close. So I thank you all for being at our award ceremony today, and I think that kind of concludes our award ceremony.